What up, beautiful people, my homies, my subscribers, my fans, my supporters, I guess I could keep going, but so grateful to see all of you virtually. Grateful to be here. Awesome to be hanging with you. And, this week's a very different type of week in terms of vlogging. Because last week I was able to do I don't know what you'd call it. Yeah, I guess I would say it was a lecture about design workflow and process, which again, to the designers out there, seems to be talked about over and over and over again, which is annoying. So I tried to take it from a different perspective of sharing what not to do in a design workflow and process, on all the mistakes that I made starting out in the profession and all things I'm continuing to learn. And it was a lot of fun. I got to be able to share a lot about what we've done here at What's On, what we continue to do, what we've learned and what not to do. And so that's what we're going to show today, is that lecture. And it's a little dingy at little points because it was a dark room. But for the most part, the audio is pretty clear. You can see my slides pretty clearly. And so to those who are not designers, you can feel free to turn off my vlog at this point in time. To those who are designers and want some interesting content, then go and keep watching. It was a lot of fun being able to talk to the students at NSCC. Grateful to Allison, who's the prof there, for that class at least. Grateful to her giving me the opportunity. And so, I guess without further ado, let's watch it now. Actually, psych. One sec. Before we do that, I also wanted to talk about how I'm in my podcasting room right now. And obviously one thing that's been talked about frequently whenever I've done vlogs, filming in this room, that it's obviously a very bare room. So here in the future, I'm actually going to be putting some shelves up here behind me to kind of decorate it a little bit. But this goes out to you guys, that I'm actually putting on you to help me decorate those shelves. Putting up some shelves probably 2 or 3 levels behind me, and whatever you want to see, I'm going to start doing my vlogs in this room a little more often. If you want to see something in the vlog, see something that you've on the shelf that would make this room look a little better, feel free to send it to me. Send me whatever you want. It could be something real stupid, something real cool, whatever it is. Feel free to do it. We can decorate this room in a mishmash of whatever we want. So it'll be lit, it'll be fun. And again, without further ado, here's my intro. Let's get hyped and let's watch some great design content. Let's stop till we're legends. Process and workflow. In terms of what process should look like from a design perspective, and what workflow looks like, and who in their heads, when I said process and workflow, kind of did because let's get real, like, who really wants to talk about process and workflow? That's not exactly fun to talk about. It's not exactly sexy or anything like that, but it is extremely fundamental in terms of getting a project off the ground, making sure it's going to work, that people that are using your products are going to want to use your products, and that's why it's crucial. But I could honestly sit here and drone on and on about process and workflow, and what workflow and process and what everything should look like. But you can also do a Google search and find 50 articles about workflow and process that all kind of say the same thing. What I wanted to share today was actually speak more from my own personal experiences of what I did when I first started out as a designer in the workplace, and how it didn't work, and how I continually had to evaluate my workflow and my process consistently over and over again to get an idea of what the heck I'm doing, and to make sure that we develop a product that people are going to want to use. Hello, which, I'm not a fan of hello. It's just a little formal. I don't do formal. I do this. What up, suckers? It is great to be here. We'll start this over again. Yes, my name is Josh Udall, and I'm so grateful Allison had me come here and be able to speak to you. And yes, I am a NSCC student. Yes, I graduated. And yes, I did eventually get a job in the workplace I wanted. Yes, those NSCC students do exist in the world. Holla. And so I work as a lead designer, go to the next slide, for a company called What's On. And that's how it's pronounced. My boss, he has an obsession with making sure every one of our products is misspelled in some way, shape, or form. And it really confuses the tar out of people how they pronounce it. So that's why when Allison was kind of like, what's on? What is it? What is your product? That's the point I want to get across is, I don't know why we're called this. Well, I do know, but I don't know why it's spelled that way. But, you know, my boss, love him to death, but yeah, that's how he loves to do things in the world. And so I do work as the lead designer for them as a company. And if you want to know if lead designer is code for the only designer, you would be correct. At What's On, we have one overarching mission in the world. And that is to be the most electrifying company the world has ever seen. Okay, no, not really. But next, I'm kind of kidding about that. We strive to specialize in succeeding at personalizing online content for people. Yes, it's a bit of a mouthful, but that is it. We are trying to personalize online content for people is what our goal is as a company. Right now, we specifically work in the pharmaceutical industry. Yes, the bad guys. In which we have two products on the go. One is called Mapped, which is an online product that we designed specifically for conferences that's aimed to help doctors and medical practitioners navigate massive amounts of content at a conference. Because these conferences, I've been to a few of them, they can have as much as 1,000, 2,000 sessions at one conference. And what they get is they get a PDF at the beginning of a conference that thick of all the sessions that are happening, and they have to rifle through that and try to figure out what they want. So what we do is they tell us what they are there for, what they specialize in, what kind of speakers they want to see, and we bring it all to one stream for them and let them know the interest level of what is going to be helpful for them, and we help them build their schedule, get through a conference. So that's what Mapped is. The product that we have is called Feedcast, in which that app is for anyone. You tell our system what hashtags, accounts, keywords that you want to see in terms of articles that you want to pull from those types of sources. And we'll bring all that content into one feed for you so you don't have to go searching on other social platforms and things of that nature to find what you want to be looking for. It all comes in one spot for you. So for example, I have a user experience, user interface design feed that I share all kinds of content on Twitter and other social platforms. So what happens is what I do is I have an app called Buffer which releases tweets at different times so I don't have to always be releasing them consistently. And so I just load up Buffer with all these articles that I get from Feedcast, and then bam, I'm just sharing. I look like a whiz and look amazing. So those are two products that we are currently working on at this point in time. And as I said, it is an app that's for everyone, but our focus mainly is on doctors to help them get content that's relevant to their practice, and because they are busy people trying to save lives and cure cancer and all that jazz. But we do work for the pharma industry, you know. So that's how we make money. Our apps are for the users, are the doctors and the nurses, but we work with these guys who tend to do a lot of this, who want their ads everywhere. It kind of feels like, it's not really that bad, but that's what it feels like at times. But we're trying to help doctors and trying to bring some good to that industry. It's nice to get paid while we do it. So, moving on here. That's where I come from, and that's what we do. But Allison brought me in to talk process and talk workflow. So when you hear those words, what do you think?
Lots of thinking.
Lots of thinking? Okay.
Coffee.
Coffee?
Yeah.
Needed coffee. Yep. Anybody else?
Organizing your thoughts.
Organizing thoughts? Yeah. Trying to get things together on a page? Yeah. Anybody else?
Communication.
Communication, yeah. Figuring out, what am I doing, what am I working on, and how am I going to communicate that to other people through my project? Yeah, for sure. These are all great answers. So where I come from, as I said, I'm a NSCC graduate. And what I was taught back in school of what my process should look like when it comes to design is this. We'd be given the problem. Then we'd research the crap out of it, which, that's not moving, but, so be it. Then we'd go to figure out on a micro level what I was solving. Then do up 100 thumbnail sketches of a possible idea. Then narrow that down to 10, spruce up to 10, then narrowed that down to 3, spruced up to 3, and then nailed that down to 1, which then spruced that up until the client can see it. That was the NASCAD process, is research the crap out of things, start sketching everything you can, pick everything you got, and that was the process that I was taught. But there was 2 problems. Well, one problem with that is it was a dynamite process for doing 2D work, like design, posters, business cards, logos, things of that nature. But for interactive design, it wasn't great, which I didn't know at the time, because this is the only process I ever had. That's all I had. So I moved on with what I was given. So when I first started, it was July 2nd, 2015. I remember it very well. It was right after Canada Day. My boss gave me the lowdown of the company. I was the only designer. I was with 2 developers at the time. We were working on Purdy's Wharf in this little room, literally like just kind of like this corner of the room. It's kind of what the size of it was, and there's 3 of us crammed in there. And but we had a window, so that was nice. I was able to kind of get some vitamin D. But that was what I was given. So he gave me the whole lowdown of the company, what they were trying to accomplish. The first product they were trying to launch at the time was Mapped, which back then was called Zen, and what the goal of that product was. Then he was like, all right, now go do the design thing. So, go. I was like, okay, is there anything else you can give me? Is there any other process that you can give me? I was nervous. I didn't know what I was doing. I had just got married 2 months earlier. Sorry, I graduated 2 months early. I was married 3 weeks earlier. I just got back from my honeymoon 1 week earlier. And now was being paid the most money I've ever acquired in my life for doing design. And this is kind of the only direction I was given, which freaked me out. I was like, oh my gosh, like this guy's paying me big G's to do this. In my head it was big G's, but in reality it's not much. Anything that goes north of $5,000 a year is huge for me when you come out of school, trust me. And I was like, man, am I gonna waste this guy's money? Like, oh my gosh, he just kind of gave me such a broad brush of things to go after and figure out. And I was like, okay, fair enough. And that was one of the differences I learned between school and the real world, is they're not gonna give you a project sheet of the problem they're trying to solve. They're just, we want this, figure it out. And I was like, okay, let's do it. So there's 2 things he specifically told me was, it needs to be a product that doctors can use at conferences to navigate all the 1,000 sessions or choices that they're given. And the options need to be able to change in size based on the preferences they tell our system. I was like, okay, let's do this. I got it, come on. I went and did the design thing. Did I mention again I was the only designer? I brainstormed all the different ways one could navigate content and what would be the best option for the product, and did research into how people prefer to consume content. I also considered what was a good amount for them. Had to make sure it wasn't too much where they are not able to digest it, but as well as not too little to underwhelm the user and then not want to use it at all. So again, item 1, checked off the list. Research the crap out of it. So here are a couple sketches I was doing. Again, there's a lot of I would draw something and then just take a bunch of notes about it. And then if you go to the next one, same type of thing. And I started things started kind of more the idea started coming to flow a little better. But again, lots of notes were taken, and bam. And then, but also that was the other thing, is I do have other sketches, but they were also at one point, they were lost in a fire that we don't know what happened, but we'll just move on from that. So bam, step 2 of my process was done. Sketch like a maniac. But I skipped a step. I did a bunch of sketches, and then right from there I narrowed it down to 1 due to time that I was given. I jumped straight down to a final sketch of the hundreds I was making out. So I chose 1, started mocking it up visually, making sure it looked great so the devs could start hopping on it and doing work. And so I mocked up this beautiful, for a first pro project, it was pretty nice, screen that did exactly what my boss wanted it to do. It changed on user's preference in terms of size, in terms of how the people would interact with it. Things would change, and it was looking great. And for me, I was like, I must say, I'm taking some nice pride in this. This thing is looking beautiful. I can't wait to share it. The devs, oh, sorry, next one, sorry, back. The devs loved it. They thought it was awesome. I was like, all right, let's take it to the boss now. So we showed it to the boss. And let's just say that he did not like it very much. Reason being, the game had changed. I was like, what do you mean the game has changed? I was playing hockey, but now my boss wanted to play football. I was like, what's going on? So what ended up happening is he didn't like it because he was able to finally get an idea of what he actually wanted, and I had to treat my boss like I have to do a client. Sometimes clients don't know what actually everything they want first. And so he came back to me, he's like, actually, this is what we need. I was like, okay, fair enough. What is it you need? He told me, well, not only do things need to change size based on user preference, but we're also going to add a social component. I was like, okay. He's like, so what's going to happen is each item is either going to light up or dim based on how many people are attending it. And it's okay to laugh, because it's a crazy idea. I was like, okay, fair enough. I was like, this was my reaction. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. And then he's like, oh, Josh. I was like, yeah? He's like, as well, you can't scroll. Everything has to be on one screen. I was like, pardon? What did you say? And he's like, yep, no scroll, you can't, no, it has to all be on one screen, and you have to be able to zoom in like you would on Google Maps or something like that. And I was like, this is crazy. Who did I decide to work for? This is absolutely bonkers. And I was like, well, he's like, and so I was like, okay, so I went back, I was bewildered, developers were bewildered, we're all bewildered. And we were just like, what are we gonna do? I went back to the drawing board. I kept trying to figure out how the heck I was going to blend sizing, brightness, and one screen all together, and make it that thing that we call usable. Trying to figure out how the heck to do that. But after a few more weeks of work, frustration, and bewilderment, I frustratingly slapped together this beautiful, majestic, never seen anything like it in your life screen. That was this. Whew! Isn't it amazing? I absolutely hated it. I was embarrassed by it. And actually, last minute before I actually got out here, I finally found like a huge slide that my boss did up way back when that actually walks through the all screens. So I put a bunch of them in. So we're gonna walk through them. So that was the login screen. All right, looking pretty as ever. Oh, sorry. Next one, you can go. Again, I don't even know what we're trying to do here. Oh yeah, that was supposed to be a Twitter box, and that was junk. Moving on. This was how you picked your interests and things of that nature. What matters to you was down 12-point font, which was smaller than everything else. Looked beautiful. And then this was it on a tablet screen. This was the sessions, each one. You had to have 9 on a screen. And so again, to get around the whole scrolling thing, what happens if you tapped on one of these boxes down below, it would then pop everything back up in here. So it's like an iOS navigation inside an iOS navigation. And it was horrendous. And so I was very embarrassed by it. And you keep moving on, keep going, yeah. This is just horrendous. Yeah, just keep, I'm discouraged. So that was my process so far, is I researched it, I sketched something, I picked one design, my boss said do it again, I sketched more and came to a final. And so obviously he thought it was marvelous, I thought it was junk, but he wanted to launch this. So we did. But I told him, I don't want my name anywhere associated with this. I don't let anyone know I made this. And he was like, well, I have a curveball for you. I was like, okay. He's like, the first conference we're launching at, you're going. And you're going to show this to all the users and see what they think. And I'm like, well, I know what they're going to think. They're going to laugh at me. I'm not going. There's no way I'm going. He's like, not even if it's San Diego? I was like, okay, I'll go. No problem. I'll go to the conference. And so that's what I did, and I went to the conference. That was the process I had gone with. As you can see, this process is a little different from the one I've been taught. This one seemed to be a little more streamlined. Sometimes a more streamlined process is good, but in this situation it was not. Reason being was because it wasn't streamlined to my needs, or to the user's needs, or to the project needs. It was streamlined based on external pressures like timelines, expectations of bosses,
what the advertisers wanted. And that streamlined the process and made it just really junky. So a process gone wrong led to a product gone wrong. So I went to sunny San Diego. I went to that conference and showed these potential users the product. And guess what happened? They were all super confused by the sizing, the iconography, had questions of what they're even looking at, and frustrated by, you guessed it, the no scroll rule. They're just like, who does that? Like, I can't go anywhere, this is so frustrating. I was like, yep. And at that point you just kind of gotta like smile and nod and just kind of take the feedback as it comes and cry a little on the inside. And that's what ended up happening. But what I learned from my NASCAD process and the interactive design process, they're two very different worlds, is what I learned. And again, this was the process I was taught, as we talked about. The 100 thumbnails and all, and keep coming back and tweaking until you get something final. And this is the process that we needed. I needed to ask users their pain, potential users, what their problems were when they went to conferences. I needed to create user personas, which are essentially you interview a bunch of people, then based on those findings, you kind of create a one-person kind of an idea of what they do, so you can get an idea to make sure you can track that. I researched the crap out of it for solutions, finding solutions for these people. Come back to the client, come back to the user, not the client, not to the boss, but to the user with 3 possible solutions in wireframe form. And when I say wireframe, does anyone know what I mean by that? Yeah, okay, cool. Just want to make sure. And so ask, and then come back to them and ask if this works. Does this flow make sense to you? And if it doesn't, well, repeat steps 3 through 4. But refine those wireframes, do up an interactive mock-up, show users and have them test it, and do cleaner versions of those. And then keep it going until the problem is solved. What I was doing wrong is essentially, I didn't realize it, but I was just being a prideful designer, honestly. I was trying to solve everything myself, realizing if you go back, switch it up here, I would completely lose leaving the user out of the process, which they needed to be a part of it. So I was trying to create a product to help them navigate their conference. I never asked what the issue actually was. I didn't include them as a part of the solution, which led to a completely failed product and even more failed designer. But as well, I was allowing for company pressures to also compromise my process and the process that we needed to have, which was leading to failure as well. Sadly, what happened is that it took a lot of time to convince my boss of proper process in order to create something that works. But as most of us do, we tend to learn the hard way and learn over mistakes, which is what we needed to do. So after a year of efforts of this project going nowhere, he allowed me to put in proper process what we just discussed, making sure I was able to interview users, take things to them, figure out what's going on. And he has slowly now become a champion for user experience design, making sure it's a user-centric product. So when that finally happened, our process began to look a lot like this. We did interviews with potential users. We created personas. Something like this. So I had 2 personas, like this is an example of 2 personas I put together. Murray is a doctor based in Amherst, Nova Scotia. He's a well-known doctor in the local hospital, thus making him an important role player. When he is required to go to a medical conference, they usually take place in Toronto. He's usually not a fan of going in the first place, so he just wants to see who he wants and needs to see, and attend some sessions that will help him. He goes through the list of doctors who are presenting, then checks in on sessions that he wants to go see. He locks it in and goes to those sessions. So that's kind of an example of a user persona. Julie, again, is a young woman, young nurse, who has gone to conferences of various disciplines. She'll go to a conference if she sees a benefit to her personal growth, and so on and so forth. Again, you get the idea of what these personas are. So I had to create user journeys, which kind of looked like this. Again, Murray went to a Toronto conference, went through the presenters, and see if there's any friends on the list that he wanted to go see. He took some mental notes, looked through the possible sessions that would be appealing to him. He takes some mental notes of what he wants to do. He locks in his choices and directly goes to the sessions that he has written down. So that is what ended up happening and what he did. So that would, again, it's an example of a user journey. This is like, after these interviews, figuring out, okay, how are they going to navigate from the get-go, from when they're home to when they're actually on site at the conference, and how does our app need to, react to that? So those are the user journeys. Same thing here for Julie, the 23-year-old nurse. Sees a conference online that'll be worth her time, travels the city, gets acquainted at her hotel, meets up with colleagues and acquaintances, looks through the list of sessions, and decides to go to the sessions that will spark the most questions for her. Again, this is specifically to a person, seeing how can we adapt our product to her. So we did some wireframes. And this is kind of like a crude drawing I did on the whiteboard one day of what we want to do, but again, they would need to pick their sessions, pick their speakers, and then what we do is we'd show them based on time slots of the day, so morning, afternoon, evening, of what sessions would be the most interesting to them, is kind of the idea that we wanted to go with, and help them plan their day. So hit a session in the morning, pick what restaurant they're going to, session in the afternoon, restaurant, and then session in the evening. That was kind of the goal we were going with. So I made an interactive wireframe of how this would look. Someone's going through trying to pick what they want. So they pick a 75% session, they pick the restaurant they're going to, so on and so forth. So we ended up fleshing things out. Next. So this is kind of the screen you were just looking at. So these are the sessions, restaurants, and again, you have to keep scrolling, but again, morning, afternoon, restaurants separating each one to help people plan their days out. Oops, sorry, you can go back.
Sure.
It got cut off. Beautiful. I love exports. This is a session detail screen. Again, from here you're seeing your friends who are going to it or who are at least interested in it. Same thing here. And then you have you can go to a list of people that are at the conference, and you can also see what topics they're interested in, what speakers they're interested in, and what they're attending. So that's kind of the idea of what we did with wireframes, so they fleshed out wireframes. And so this is the top part of a huge map I did so that everyone can be on the same page. So again, this is how all the screens link together. If you tap on this, you come to this screen, this, that, the other. You can't see a whole lot from here, but that's it. And this is the bottom half of that map. Again, more of the same thing. Different situations, what's going on, and yeah, just making sure that everyone's on the same page. When I brought it to the devs, brought it to my boss, make sure everyone knew kind of how things were linking up and going forward. Go next. So before you knew it, you came to a live product where someone would come, tell us what speakers and what they wanted to learn. They tell us what they wanted to see, and in terms of sessions session topics they want to see, and pharmacology being another one of them. And then they go next, and they tell us what speakers they want to see. This is obviously a fun process of them going through it. But again, nothing on the first day. They go to the second day, and they see that, wow, there's something that's a 100% match for me. And again, you can't really see the buttons, like the grayed out, they were grayed out, but yeah. So they would attend it, and so on and so forth. And that was kind of it, and that's where it came to. But this wasn't like a silver bullet solution. As I said, it's always an ongoing process. So we took this to the users. They gave us some more feedback, and we're continuing to iterate on them time and time again. And process and workflow, it never ends. It's not perfect. It's always about trying things again. And what you're going to learn as well as devs, you're going to end up working with, at times, maybe working with designers like me who can tend to be a pain, who are very fussy over pixels and certain sizes of things and certain colors of things. But this is a really important workflow because we all have to work together to make sure that a product is user-centric. And we got to make sure that we do that. So thanks for having me. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Stop till we're legends.